One thing is for certain, Orlando Bloom this time is not teaming up with Jack Sparrow and going on a mission with a bunch of different pirates. This time, he's in a shoot-'em-up film. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. Welcome into the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing an action thriller crime film called Red Right Hand, which will be premiering in limited theaters and also on VOD on February 23rd. The fine folks over at Magnolia Pictures sent this screener over to me to let you guys know if this is worth a watch. The film stars Orlando Bloom, Andie MacDowell, and Scott Haze, and was directed by Eshom Nelms and Ian Nelms, and I've never seen any of their work before. The film is about a man named Cash. He is living the pretty ordinary, quiet, and normal life, and when his brother actually gets into trouble and has to pay back some debt that he owes, he is back into a life of crime, drugs, and a really powerful drug dealer. I went into this film completely blind. All I knew is that Orlando Bloom was in this film, and I was like, I gotta check out this film, because most of the films I've seen him in, like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I really haven't seen him in a lot of other films that I can actually name offhand, and so I wanted to actually see what he would do with this film. Now this film, I love the cinematography of it. It was filmed in Kentucky, which I did actually visit last year, and I did see some of the rural parts of Kentucky. And this film, it does capture the rural parts of Kentucky, the dirt, the grass, the trees. It all looks really beautiful. I love like the old house kind of settings in the middle of nowhere, and this film, it definitely captures that. The film has a lot of action. There's a lot of shoot 'em up action. Cash is living a pretty ordinary life until his brother actually takes out a loan against this very powerful drug muling group, and he has to pay them back, which he can't because he was trying to do this to actually save his farm. And Orlando Bloom goes to the ringleader. She is nicknamed Big Cat, played by Andie MacDowell, and says, hey, what can I do to actually make this right? And she says that he has to do 3 missions for her. It's very generic in the premise. You've seen something like this done many of times, but I think that this film actually works. And the reason why I say that is the action here is aplenty. It's very violent at times. There's parts in here where they're showing quite a bit of blood and quite a bit of violence. For instance, the ringleader, she really makes herself really known. She cuts off someone's thumb and you completely see it. There's another part where somebody actually gets their knees actually banged in and broken. And some of those scenes, they're a little bit gut-wrenching to actually see on camera. I didn't expect it. There's a lot of parts in here with the gunplay, specifically within the third act, and even a little bit sprinkled throughout the film, where it's actually not too bad. You get some cool shoot-'em-up action. There's a lot of one-dimensional characters that you really just don't care for. You've seen the story before where you have somebody who is out of the crime life, then they go back into that rabbit hole of going back into the crime life, and they're back in it and they can't get out of it, and this is definitely one of those films. The villains themselves, really only the ringleader here, Big Cat. She really stands out. She calls the shots. She's trying to build the empire here, and she tells these men what to do. Her son is involved in this whole group, but doesn't really have much of a character, and that's kind of how a lot of these henchmen really are. They're just there to do a job, follow the orders, and that's really it. We do learn a little bit about Orlando Bloom and some of his family members, which I did like they actually dove into that, but I would say that these family members and certain little things about this family, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of meat on the bones. You can't really expect a whole lot. I think this is one of those films where you kind of know beat for beat where it's going to go, but there are some outlandish moments within the third act that I really did appreciate. For instance, I really did like that the priest is actually involved in this, and he actually gets into the violence as well. I was like, that's pretty funny that they actually involved him, but at the same time, it really made sense because certain events that actually play out in the film where they're actually on the church premises, it makes sense that the priest actually gets involved. I don't really have a ton of negatives that I can really list off, other than the fact that you kind of know that this is going to be a generic film. You know when this film is actually going on, certain things that are going to play out. It's not something where it really derails the film. It's one of those films where I think it's simple enough. Characters, I really expected them to be one-dimensional in a film like this. So I wasn't really disappointed by that. But when it comes to actually rewatchability and something where I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to pop this on. This is like a 5 out of 5 kind of movie. No, it's not one of those kinds of movies. But it is a movie I can say, like, if somebody was like, hey, it's a rainy day out, do you want to watch this again? I know you watched it before. I'd be like, sure, why not? Like, it's not a bad film. It's just not a film where you're really attaching yourself to the characters that much. Not a lot of stuff is really stretched out amongst characters. It's simple in the villains. It's simple in what it's trying to accomplish. And I think it does that. If you're looking for a little bit of violence, you're looking for a shoot 'em up kind of film where it's not really expensive to really check out, probably going to be pretty cheap on VOD to rent this anyway. I think it's worth enough the price if you know when you go into this film that's what it is. If you're looking for something a little bit more or outside this genre, I don't think you're going to find it here. As far as the score, I would give it a 3 out of 5. It was entertaining enough. I love the shoot 'em up action style, even though it was generic and there wasn't really too much to the characters and not really anybody that I really latched on. The story was engaging enough and I enjoyed it for what it was and just took it for what it was. And if you can really go into this film with that mindset, I think you'll enjoy it just enough. What did you think about this film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out yet, are you going to check it out at your local theater if it's playing? Or are you going to check it out on VOD? Let me know any and all comments down below. And also, let me know, what is your favorite Orlando Bloom film? Drop that in the comments as well. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you next time.